ओम सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग्नुयात्। ओम शांति शांति शांति। At the outset, I am thankful to Rashtam School of Public Leadership, Rishikesh University, Panipat, along with the other organizers, for giving me this opportunity of being a part of this very wonderful program, a mega program I will call it, going on for so many days with 70 speakers from all over the country. And I must congratulate the organizers for having organized such a wonderful program, and I'm very much sure that this will go a long way in preparing to implement the new education policy of 2020, in which lot of emphasis has been given to Indian knowledge system and value education programs. We are talking about the characteristic Indian epistemology second, in which I have been given the topic Utsava, Upavasa, Upasana. Wonderful topic. Now you will feel the three topics, the only thing common is only you or U. No, it's not that. Wherever there is Utsava in India, in our Hindu tradition, in the Indian knowledge system, every Utsava has been connected with the religious Utsava. And every religious Utsava also means there will be some Upasana. And when there is some Upasana, there will be some Upavasa. These are integral part of a religious function, and every Utsava will be connected with a religious festival or a religious function. So in that way, all the three are connected. Now we will take one by one, and then we will go for question answer session. I don't know whether there will be any question, because you know better than me on all the three topics. So we start with Utsava. Utsavas are festivals and sacred days gradually replaced the Vedic sacrifices of the olden days. Previously, in Vedic times, they were Vedic sacrifices, but now the rituals have taken the place of the Utsavas, festivals. And there are so many festivals. And all the festivals have got special features. And when they are held in Indian temples, they are classified as Nitya, Naimittika, and Kamya. What is Nitya? Nitya is the regular rituals that are going on round the year. Everything is fixed. That every Ganesh Chaturthi, every year Ganesh Chaturthi, there will be so much function. Every year Janmashtami, there will be so much function. Likewise, in the temples, the dates are fixed, the tithis are fixed when there will be festivals. But there will be Naimittika. For example, there is an eclipse. Then at that time, eclipse time, there will be special celebration, special Utsava. And maybe there are some natural calamities. There is fire. Then there will be another festival, especially for that. Then Kamya. Kamya festivals are organized for fulfilling the wishes of the devotees. And the procedures that are involved in any Utsava celebration by any temple are Ankura Ropa. First of all, there is the plantation. Then Dhwajarohana, that is hoisting the flag. Then Bheri Nada, that is drums being the sound of the drums. Yaga and Homa, these are the rituals. Then Bali Pradana or food offering, either. Then Parikramana or procession. There will be procession inside the temple, sometimes outside the temple also. If there is Utsava Vigraha, if for every Vigraha, the main Vigraha, in many temples, there will be Utsava Vigraha. They will come out only during the Utsava, and Jagannath Rath will go on Rath Yatra day, and they will go procession not only inside the temple but around the city, big procession. Then Tirtha Snana, the deity will be given bath. Pushpayaga, flowers to be put. Then Dvaja Avarohana, that is bringing down the flag. These are the normal routine sort of procedures involved during a typical Utsava in Hindu temples. In India, we are all Utsava Priya people. So we have festivals round the year. I don't know whether any part of the world they will have so many Utsavas. Round the year, going on, some Utsava or the other. And if you have to give leave, supposing if the government decides that for every Utsava there will be holiday, then I think out of 365 days, not a single day will be left for working. All for enjoyment of Utsava. So many Utsavas. Let us start with January. January, Makar Sankranti. Big festival, Makar Sankranti. In fact, Swami Vivekananda was born on Makar Sankranti day. Then Kite Festival, very big festival, particularly in Gujarat. We have International Kite Festival, and from all over the world, the people come for the Kite Festival. And it is a start of Uttarayana. Then, as I told you, every Utsava will have a component of religious, some component of religion. So, Surya Narayana, worship of Surya Narayana, because it is actually the sun is changing its direction. So, January month given to Makar Sankranti and others. Of course, there are so many other festivals. Then comes February. So, February, we have Mahashivratri. And the whole night, the worship goes on with the mantra Om Namah Shivaya, and then Trambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanat Mrityurmukshe Mamritat, and all those mantras will be recited throughout the night. There will be 4 types of worship. 4 prahar puja hoti hai. 4 periods. Whole night the puja will go on, worship will go on, and in the daytime also they will worship. That is, they will worship in the temples. But those who ritually go for Mahashivratri puja, they will go for the whole night. For example, in Ramakrishna Mission, in some of our centers, including Rajkot or Belumot headquarters, we have whole night puja. But many people, daytime itself, they will go to Shiva temples and they will pour water and bilva leaf and then flowers and milk and all that. The Shivaji, worship of Shiva is very simple. Not much of cost is needed. Just 1 bilopatra if you can afford. If not, only water is enough for him. Shiva is Asutosha. He becomes pleased with only even water. But that is not true with Krishna. He requires butter and also mishri, sugar candy, so many things. Anyway, so Mahashivratri, Saraswati Puja, then month of March, Holi. That is the festival of colors. So children waiting for Holi, when Holi festival will be there. Of course, it is again, as I told you, there is a religious component. Holika Dahan will be there prior to the day of playing with the colors, prior night. Then it is also incidentally the birthday of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, particularly in Bengal. They will celebrate that also. So month of March gone. Now comes April. In April, we have Ram Navami. Ram Navami, particularly in UP and other states, the Ram Navami is celebrated in a grand way with the Ramcharit Manas is being recited. And in the month of April, another thing happens is that most of the states have their New Year Day in the month of April. Pehla Baishakh on 15th of April. Then round about that only Pongal, then Bihu for Assam. So many states will have their New Year Day in the month of April, just around about 14th or 15th of April. Then in the month of May, Akshay Tritiya. Akshay Tritiya is the day when you do not have to see Muhurta. Any auspicious thing you want to do, you want to construct a building, you want to lay the foundation of a building, you want to have a new house, anything. Akshay Tritiya is whatever happens that day, it remains Akshaya. It is on Tritiya day, and Akshay Tritiya, you don't have to see any Muhurta. For other days, you have to see Muhurta, whether Shubh or whether it is auspicious or not. Then comes the month of June, Snan Yatra. As you know, Jagannath temple, that day, the Jagannath Mahaprabhu is being given bath, ceremonious, very elaborate bath. And the month of July, then you have Rath Yatra. The Jagannath Mahaprabhu comes out of the temple, goes around the city. Rath Yatra is a big festival, particularly in Orissa. The king himself draws the chariot and lakhs of people gather there. Last 2 years are exception because of the coronavirus pandemic, but otherwise it is a big festival. And then the chariot comes out, and in the month of July. In the month of July, another thing comes, and that is Guru Purnima. It is also called Vyas Purnima, being the birthday of Ved Vyasa. So most of the temples, most of the sects, they observe Guru Purnima on a very big way. They worship their own Guru on that day, receive the blessings of their own Guru, and there is a special worship, there is special puja, there is special prasad, partaking of sacred food, devotional songs, and all that. Even in Ramakrishna Mission, 40 years back we were not observing, but now from last 40 years in Ramakrishna Mission also, including our Belu Math, we have big celebration on Guru Purnima day. Then we come to month of August. Well, August goes to the Kanhaiya, Shri Krishna Janmashtami. And particularly in Gujarat, we have a big mela, big fair centering around the Shri Krishna Janmashtami for a week. There will be big celebration, and then series of festivals including Shri Krishna Janmashtami, before and after. This is all connected with the birth of Shri Krishna, the legend of Shri Krishna, how he was born and all that. So Vrindavan, of course, there will be Janmashtami in a big way. In Gujarat also, because Dwarka is here, because later on Shri Krishna shifted to Dwarka, he was given the name Ranchod. Ranchod means one who has left the Rana, who has left the battlefield, because Jarasandha was attacking 17 times, he attacked, many times he attacked. And so Shri Krishna, in order to have peace of mind for the people, he ran away. He did not mind people will call him Ranchoda. He did not mind. He was least bothered about XYZ telling anything. So he ran away for the peace of the people and built another city of gold, fully gold, that is Dwarka city. Of course, now it is under the ocean. They are trying to find out, they are making some research, some scientific research is going on, and Mr. Rao and others have found out some part of that gold city, that is what they say. But it is very difficult to say at this stage, but a lot of research going on, whether it was what they have found something, whether it is the real, that is the drowned golden Dwarka by Shri Krishna or not. This is all they are finding out. Anyway, so August month given to Janmashtami. Then September comes Ganesh Chaturthi. Ganesh Chaturthi was started celebration in a big way by Lokmanya Tilak in Maharashtra, but now it has spread various other parts of the country also. In Gujarat also, Ganesh Chaturthi is observed, and many other states it is now being observed. And normally it is 3 days worship. but sometimes they only worship for one day and then they immerse. And now new concepts are coming for the Ganesh Puja. You know, there was some problem, ecological problem. The statues of Sri Ganesha were made of plaster of Paris, and when they were immersed in ocean or in the river and all that, they did not get dissolved. So what happens? They remained in the surface, and that created environment, that is creating environment problem. So some people have come up with the very bright ideas of chocolate Ganesha. First came the clay Ganesha, then came the chocolate Ganesha, which solved two problems simultaneously, killing two birds with one stone. That is the problem of environmental production. At the same time, that Ganesha made of chocolate is dissolved in milk, and that milk is given to the undernourished children. So two problems solved with one go. So Ganesh Chaturthi is observed in a big way. Then comes the Durga Puja. In Gujarat, the advertisement department gives the advertisement, the longest dance festival of the world. 9 nights going on. Ras, Garba, Dandiya Ras. Of course, it is centering around Divine Mother Durga. So it is Durga Ashtami, along with that is Durga Puja for 9 days. But mainly puja is done on Saptami, Ashtami, and Navami. And there are various legends connected with that. We will not go into details. But on those days, Saptami, Ashtami, Navami, there will be special puja, special festival. There will be a clay image, and then the image will be immersed. On the first, there will be Darpan Visarjana, and then there will be the real Visarjana in the evening, and that water after that thing is called Shanti Jal, and that is spread. In Bengal, Durga Puja is done in a very big way, and very big pandals, and lakhs of rupees are spent, millions of rupees spent on the construction of pandals and all that, and many cultural festivals along with that for 9 nights going on. And Navratri is being observed in all parts of the world, in all parts of India. In South India also, in Gujarat, Navratri is a very big festival. But Durga Puja, in the manner in which it is observed in Bengal, that is big pandal, like Ganesh Puja, there is big pandal, there are big pandals, and lot of merriment going on, and lot of drum beating and all that. So along with that, those who perform Satvika Puja, they also recite Durga Saptashati or Devi Mahatmya, or it is called Chandi in Bengal. So this contains the whole story how Durga took form when the Devatas, all the gods, were attacked by the Asuras, and they were not able to cope up with that. Then all the Devatas, they prayed, they gave their weapons, and out of that a female image came, took birth, took form of Mother Durga and Divine Mother Durga, then killed the main demon called Mahishasura. So Mahishasura Mardini, see, Durga is also called, and Mahishasura Mardini Stotra is very popular, not only in South India. Now, of course, in all the centers of Ramakrishna Mission, it is sung, but many parts of the country now it is sung, Mahishasura Mardini. So this is a beautiful legend that is all given, how Mahishasura Mardini took the form of Durga and killed Mahishasura. And there are other stories also, how she killed Shumba and other demons. Mainly, we pray to Mother Durga that you kill the Mahishasura of, we tell last year we said, oh Mother, please kill the Mahishasura, this Rakshasa of coronavirus that is now spreading all over the world. So Durga Puja is a very important festival all over the country. Then comes November, Deepavali, the festival of lights. You all know Deepavali goes on for many days. There is Dhanteras, there is Kali Chaudas, then the actual Diwali. And next to the Diwali in Gujarat, it starts Vikram Samvat. So in Rajasthan and Gujarat, they observe the New Year day on. And then there is Bhai Dooj after that day. So it goes on, the function goes on till Labh Panchami. So it is a big long vacation also, because Diwali vacation in many states of the country. So Deepavali is a very, very big festival. And it is a festival of lights. And there are so many things, many things are connected with that. In the Durga Puja, at the end of the day after Navami, comes Vijayadashmi. So Vijayadashmi has got two significance. One is that Santijal is given on that day, and particularly in Bengal and other parts, they greet each other once a year. They called Vijaya greetings. Just as in other parts, it is New Year greeting, so it is Vijaya greeting, they say. And on that day, Dashera, that is also Vijayadashmi, is also called Dashhara. Dashhara means the 10 heads of Ravana was killed. Ravana was killed by Rama. So on Dashhara day, the Ravana with 10 heads was killed by Sri Rama. So that is celebrated, and they will, in so many places, there will be Ram Leela Maidan. Ram Leela will be there, and there will be Ravana, an effigy of Ravana will be placed, and that Ravana, and there will be firecracks will be there, fires. Then the Ravana will be burnt, and then people will be very happy. Oh, Ravana is gone, and then they will bring Sonpatti. That is, Sri Lanka was full of gold. So when they came back, they brought some gold from there. So that is the sort of, many stories mixed up with the legends. So Diwali is the day when Sri Ramchandra reached Ayodhya, and whole Ayodhya full of lights. Now every city has become Ayodhya, and everywhere we have lights. We burn the lamps and all that. So round the year we have got festivals. In December there was no major festival. So people thought we must have vacation in December. So they now imported Christmas. So we have Christmas vacation. We are not satisfied with so many festivals, So we had summer vacation, we had winter vacation, we had Deepavali vacation, and then we added Christmas vacation. Anyway, so this is how we are so much Utsava Priya in India. We love the Utsavas, we love the festivals, and all the festivals has got its association with religion. And because of religion, then we start religious practice, that is called Upasana. And Upavasa is a part of that Upasana, that is fasting. That is how we celebrate the festivals. We come to the next Upavasa. Upavasa is fasting. Upavasa is made of two words. Upavasa. Vasa means to stay. Upa means near. Upavasa's real meaning is that when we want to stay near God. So for that day, we don't cook anything, so that we can give that time to God. We can repeat more mantras, but now it has lost its original significance. Now, even now today, though we do not cook rice, dal, etc., we cook so many items on Upavasa day. And previously we used to take 4 times a day. Now we take whole day, some or the other item. That is our Upavasa. But anyway, Upavasa, original thinking was Upavasa or fasting is a spiritual discipline. For most of the people, it started as a spiritual discipline, or as a part of religious rites, or even as an expiation for sins. This is found in all the major religions of the world. All the major religions of the world, there is importance of fasting, whether it is Islam, whether it is Christianity, for expiation of their sins and also for gaining spiritual benefit. This fasting is an important ritual. Fasting helps to discipline both body and mind. And normally, along with fasting, puja, worship, japa, repetition of the mantra, maunam, that is silence, jagran, vigil, bhajan, devotional songs, kirtan, mantrochar, recitation of mantras. All these are the part of that fasting. They are accompanied by fasting. Whenever we do fasting, we do all these things also simultaneously. Now, there are many types of fasting. So one is called Nirjala, Nirjala fasting, Nirjala Upvas, Nirjala Ekadashi. That means not even water can be taken during the whole day. Very few people can do it, but there are people who do it. Second is Nirahara. That is total abstinence from all kinds of food. Nothing except water. Nirahara. Third is Falahara. That is, you can take, you should not take any cook. You can take uncooked food. Don't take cooked food, but you can take uncooked food. Fruits, milk, juice, dry fruits, etc. you can take. Then there is another fourth type of upvasa where you can take anything except cereals. Anything. So many items you can prepare. So many things, so many types of items are prepared which are bereft of cereals. Then they are taking it. So these are the four types of upvasa. Normally now people are going for the fourth type only. And there is some beautiful story connected with the fasting. You know, when I'm from Ramakrishna Mission, so we have a sort of a tradition that for 9 years we wear the white dress and then we get the sannyas diksha. During a part of 9 years training, we have to spend 2 years in training center. Anyway, after 9 years, when we are given sannyas diksha, before that, the sannyas diksha will be carried out, will be out in our headquarters, that Belur. So it's a tradition that before the sannyas diksha is normally on the day of Sri Ramakrishna's birthday, and that comes after 3 days of Mahashivratri. So on Mahashivratri, before Mahashivratri, we have to go to the president. So, and then we have to ask for the permission that tomorrow we want to fast. And then we do fasting. All of us do fasting. Normally in Ramakrishna Mission, fasting is not very much in vogue, but at least Mahashivratri, almost all the monks and brahmacharis, they do fasting at least once in a year. And some people, they do on Ekadashi days also. But when I was there, when I received sannyas diksha, our President Maharaj was the 10th president of Ramakrishna Mission, that was Vireshwaranandji. He was very kind-hearted. He was a disciple of Holy Mother Sharda Devi. So when we went to him, he said, you see, you will be fasting, okay, you do fasting, but don't go to extremes. If you sometimes feel weakness, you can take coffee, you can coconut water, whatever you want to take. You don't wait for my permission. And then he said, and do fasting in a safe manner. What is safe manner? Then he recited a beautiful story. He said, you know, there was one lady, she was very religious. So she performed Shivratri, Mahashivratri puja, whole night worship. So there are four praharas, four times you have to do worship of Shiva, whole night, 4 times. So her husband was not interested in fasting, but this lady did fasting. So she said, she told her husband, why don't you do fasting at least for the first prahara? After the first prahara, you can take something. Just wait, within 2 hours, the first prahara will be over. Her husband was not at all interested, but only to keep his wife without any trouble, giving any trouble. It okay. Now first prahara puja is over. Now the husband said, give me something, I am very hungry. And the wife said, you are so nice a person, you did fasting for so much time, you are really to be congratulated, but let the second prahar be over, so at least you will get the fruit of the half of Shivratri. So somehow or the other, the husband agreed. After the second puja, he said, now give me food. But the wife was not interested. She said, no, no, do third prahar also. By the time there was some noise outside in the neighborhood. So what happened? What happened? What happened? There was some wife like you who went on compelling the husband to do fasting, and that person is gone. And now they are weeping. Now, do you want that I should also follow? So Maharaj told us, don't do like that. Don't go to that extent for fasting, so that others will have to weep. Anyway, so that was a joke that he told. But with that joke, we could understand his compassionate heart, that he was not interested in giving a lot of trouble, whatever it is. And there is something called this, as I told you, lot of fasting. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa, one day he went to his disciple's house, household disciple. Household disciple's name was Krishna Kishore. So there, Sri Ramakrishna saw Krishna Kishore was taking food at that time. And he saw there were so many items on the plate. Then Sri Ramakrishna said, Krishna Kishore, what is the matter? You are taking so many items. Then he said, you know, this is today's Ekadashi, I am fasting. So Sri Ramakrishna was very much amused. So many items he is taking on Ekadashi day. Nothing, no cereal is there. All the items which are permitted under Ekadashi, I am taking. Then Sri Ramakrishna was so amused that he told, after returning to Dakshineshwar, that next Ekadashi, I want to do Krishna Kishore Ekadashi. That means I want to do Ekadashi like Krishna Kishore. That means I want to take food on Ekadashi days like Krishna Kishore. And so all the items were arranged for him. And after taking food, all those items, he had a stomach upset. He said, no, no, I don't want now Krishna Kishore Ekadashi. My simple Ekadashi is okay. Whatever it is, we have to see what type of Ekadashi we can do. But Ekadashi has got its own importance, very much importance. And in our scriptures, the Ekadashi is synonymous with fasting. That is 11th day in both houses of the lunar month. That is Shukla Paksha and Krishna Paksha. It is being observed. And concessions are given for Ekadashi, as I told you. One is Ek Mukta, that means one time taking food. Any food you can take, but one time. Nakta means taking food only at night. Then Ayachita, that means you don't ask for any food. Whatever comes without begging, that only food you take. Totally, there are 24 Ekadashis, and all the Ekadashis have been given the name. We will not go into the name. But particularly 3 Ekadashis are very important. Asad Shukla Ekadashi, called Shayani Ekadashi, when the Lord goes for sleep. Kartik Shukla Ekadashi, when Prabodhini Ekadashi. Prabodhini means the Lord wakes up on that day. Margashish Shukla Ekadashi, called Vaikuntha Ekadashi, which is considered very auspicious, and is in many Vishnu temples. On that day, a special door is opened, and the devotees feel that our door to Vaikuntha has been opened. On that day, Gita Jayanti is also celebrated. Why? Because it is considered that on Marshish Shukla Ekadashi day, Sri Krishna gave the message of Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. So that is why the Gita Jayanti is observed on that day. There are a lot of stories connected to Ekadashi. We will not go into that. But it is considered that some boon was given by the Lord Vishnu, that whosoever fasts on this day will be redeemed from his sins. Some scientific reason is also given by somebody, that it is connected with the movement of the moon, and both movement of the mind, movement of the moon and the mind are interconnected. So when the moon is moving, and moon is on the Ekadashi day, when the moon is on the Ekadashi day, at that time there is a great impact on the minds of the people, and it becomes overactive. It becomes easier to control the mind when we are fasting. So that is why also they say one of the scientific reasons for observing Ekadashi on that day. And now we come to Upasana. Upasana means, the literal meaning is Upasana, that is sitting near the Lord. And it is also considered, it is also meant the meaning is given meditation. But in fact, it cannot mean only meditation. It can mean any spiritual practice, upasana. And in Panchatantra, in Pancharatra Agama, it has been used in a technical sense associated with ritualistic worship. It has 5 aspects, this upasana. What are the 5 aspects? Abhigaman, keeping the temple clean. Upadana, collecting the materials that is needed for worship. Ijya, that is ritualistic worship. Swadhyaya, repetition of God's name and chanting of hymns. And yoga, meditation on God. These are the rituals connected with this upasana. But normally, what we mean by upasana is the spiritual practice. Now, it consists of, this spiritual practice may mean, it consists of prayer, prarthana, recitation of hymns, mantroch, that is stotra patha, then japam, repetition of the name of the Lord, dhyana, meditation, and all those things. So there can be various types of spiritual practices. You can follow any spiritual practices as enjoined upon you by your teacher. In our scriptures, it is told that you must have a guide. You must have guru. Guru is made up of 2 words, gu and ru. Gu means darkness, ru means one who removes the darkness. Guru is one who removes darkness of ignorance and takes you to the light of knowledge. So that is why it is considered in our scriptures that you must have a guru. Guru will tell you what upasana to follow. Guru will tell you what type of spiritual practices you should undertake. So that ultimate aim of upasana is to realize the supreme self, which is beyond time, space, and causation. And after attaining that, you get infinite knowledge, infinite bliss, infinite happiness, and eternal life, which is the ultimate purpose of every human being, and which is the birthright of every human being. And out of 84 lakhs of species, only human beings have got that power, have got the special prerogative of having SQ. In the modern science term, I will say SQ, spiritual intelligence. IQ is available with all the species, including computers. EQ is available only with a few species, but SQ is available only with the human species. That is what the modern science says. And our scriptures, Indian scriptures, say out of 84 lakhs of species, only human beings have got the access, have got the prerogative, a unique capacity of transcending himself and perceiving himself in the act of perception. As Lincoln Barnett says in his book, Einstein and the Universe, man has a unique capacity of transcending himself and perceiving himself in the act of perception. And as Neil Bohr says, we are actors and spectators in this great drama of life simultaneously. And Dr. Einstein says in his book, The Word is a Seed, very small book, he says, every human being has got that special prerogative of liberating himself. So this is a special power, special facility available, a unique capacity of transcending ourselves. So upasana, the main purpose of upasana is to go beyond, to reach that ultimate reality by which we do not have to now go for anything else. Everything is achieved, infinite knowledge, infinite bliss, infinite existence, eternal life. So upasana, so guru will tell you which type of upasana to be undertaken, which type of spiritual practice to be undertaken, and if you follow that, you will reach the goal. And that is why in the Kathopanishad it is told that uttisthata jagrata prapti vara nivodata. Arise, awake, and go to the teacher and get the knowledge. That is the literal meaning. Swami Vivekananda gave a free meaning, a very sort of a different type of meaning, but which gives the gist of that. What is that? Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is it. Which is the goal? Goal is to realize the self. So he made that meaning. Literal meaning is arise, awake, uttishtata, jagrata, prapya, varan. Varan means guru, nibodhata. Go and get the knowledge from the guru. Why? Why you have to go to guru? Because shurasya dhara nishita duratya. Durgam patastat kavyo vadanti. That path is very, very difficult. How much difficult? Like walking on the edge of a razor. Shurasya dhara nishita duratya. Durgam patastat kavyo vadanti. So what you do? Uttishtata, jagrata, prapyavara nibodhata. Go to a guru, get the knowledge and perform upasana as enjoined by him, and do not stop not till the goal is reached. Which is the goal? Goal is self-knowledge, infinite happiness, infinite knowledge, infinite bliss. So I have told in a nutshell all the three and the connection between the three. I'm very happy to talk to you, and I'm very eager to know your questions and to reply to your questions. Thank you very much. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
That was a very, valuable and very enriching session, Swamiji. Thank you so much for this. I would just request if participants could type in their questions in the chat box, and I can maybe relay it to Swamiji and he could take it up. So I'll just enable chat, and if you could just type in your chats, questions. Yes, Dr. Krishna, please go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
Namaste, Swamiji.
Namaste.
I want to know about the fasting. So you mentioned 4 kind of fasting. So the first one was a Nirzala, second one was a Nirahar, and the third one was the Falahar, and I missed the fourth one. So
yeah, the fourth one is you can take anything except cereals. That means, you know, nowadays what do they do in Gujarat particularly? What happens during the Shravan month, whole month they will do fasting. Whole month they do fasting, and their weight increases like anything. Because they will take all oily items made of this groundnut and this and that, because not except in cereals you can take anything. So they will take a lot of sweets, they will take a lot of oily items, and their weight will increase. So it's a big problem in month of Shravana. The wives, they tell their husband, please do not do Shravana fasting, leave it to me. Because your weight increases. You go on taking whole day some food. Anyway, so that is the fifth type. You can take anything except rice, wheat, and other types of cereals. You can take anything.
Okay, Dhanyavad.
Dr. Ajay ji, you could go ahead.
Swamiji, namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you very much for a very wonderful lecture on Utsavas and Upasana. Swamiji, my question is that it is practiced the Chaturmas Vrat. The 4 months we have to follow fasting. Like in first month, one should not take milk, green leafy vegetables during Shravan. Then second month milk, then third month curd, and the fourth month, that is in autumn, one should avoid taking urad dal. So what is the scientific or logical behind these?
Yeah, actually speaking, I do not know, but one thing is there. These are all various ways by which we can control our tongue, we can control our appetite, we can control our food, and also control our senses and the mind. Mind control depends upon the control of the senses. And the most important part is the palate. So if we can control the palate, then, and also you can control the senses, then it becomes easier to control the mind. So I think our ancestors, they devised various means that throughout the year they have festivals, they will enjoy. At the same time, throughout the year, they have upavasa, fasting of the some other the other way, Shravana, 4 months. Sometimes there is Purushottam month, you know, one extra month. That time there is considered more auspicious, that for the whole month. And many people I have seen, whole month they will not take anything excepting tea or juice or any liquid. That I have seen many people. So that is also very good. But some people, they go only for, during this Purushottam month, they go only for 1 meal a day, or maybe night meal a day, or 1 meal a day. So the idea is, you can perform austerities as per your capacity. Particularly in our scriptures, the old people, the sick people, and the children have been exempted from fasting. Have been exempted. So if you are in a, you also should consult the doctor before fasting. And one thing I forgot to tell you, fasting has got another connotation. In naturopathy, they say that in order to remove the toxins, the most important part of a naturopathy treatment is fasting.
Yes, Langam, they call it.
Langana.
Yes.
And Langana, again, I am telling you, fasting, I forgot to tell you. So in naturopathy, Langana is very, very important. If you go to a naturopathy center for naturopathy treatment, first 3 days or 5 days, they will give only 1 glass of lemon water, and rest no nothing whole day, only air and water. But what happens with that? All the toxins are removed gradually. Though you may feel a little weak in the beginning, but afterwards you get the real hunger. Then you can understand the difference between what is artificial hunger and real hunger from within. So that is very good. So naturopathy is now gaining ground even in America, including Ayurveda and other alternative medicines going. But anyway, apart from that, since we are more interested in the religious point of view, even from that point of view, this fasting has got its own importance. But to the extent possible, we can perform that, and to the extent possible, we can go ahead with that.
Thank you very much.
Another thing is fasting. I forgot to tell you, Langhana can be not only of food. Now, one day another lady told me that I'm fasting for the whole Navratri. I'm going to fast. So don't give any WhatsApp message, because I am fasting on WhatsApp. No WhatsApp, no internet. If at all you have to give very important, you give on SMS, but no WhatsApp message, because I have got Langana of internet. Good. That is also one way.
Thank you.
We have Dr. Suman Gupta ji. You could unmute yourself.
Am I audible, Namrata ji?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
नमस्कार स्वामी जी, और
नमस्ते।
सभी वर्कशॉप पे उपस्थित है उनको भी मेरा नमस्कार। स्वामी जी, जो हमारे यहाँ फसलें पकती हैं उनसे भी उत्सव रिलेटेड है, और कुछ साइंटिफिक रीजन भी है, तो क्या ऐसा है? ऐसा हम लोगों ने पढ़ा है अभी तक, जो हमारे उत्सव है वो हमारी जो क्रॉप्स होती है, एग्रीकल्चरल क्रॉप्स, उसके मैच्योर होने से, जैसे कि ओणम है, पोंगल है, तो ऐसे भी हमारे उत्सव रिलेटेड है, और कुछ साइंटिफिक रीजन भी है हमारे फेस्टिवल का जो
हाँ, बिल्कुल है। बात ऐसी है कि आपने जो कहा वैसे ही, हाउ इट इज इवॉल्व, ये उत्सव कैसे इवॉल्व हुए। मान लो हम लोग पहले धरती माता को मानते थे, तो आप देखिएगा दुर्गा पूजा कब होती है, जब धान को काट लेते हैं। तो पहले में डिवाइन मदर को, महाशक्ति को उस प्रकार से धरती माता के रूप में माना जाता था। धरती माता ने इतना सारा धान दिया, तो उसके उत्सव मनाते थे 9 दिनों तक, और ये करते थे, नृत्य करते थे, गीत गाते थे, और वो धरती माता की पूजा करते थे। क्यों? ये उन्होंने, धरती माता ने हमको ये अन्न दिया है। वहां से शुरुआत हुई। तो प्रत्येक उत्सव के पीछे, जैसे मैंने कहा गणेश चतुर्थी लोकमान्य तिलक ने जानबूझ करके किया। उस समय ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट से हमको आजादी मिलनी चाहिए थी, आजादी मिलने की जरूरत थी। लॉर्ड मैकॉले की शिक्षण पद्धति चल रही थी, तो हमारे जो भाइयों को, बहनों को गणेश जी के प्रति आस्था बढ़ा करके ऐसा बड़ा उत्सव, गणेश जी का पूजा तो सब जगह होता था, पर बड़ा उत्सव करके पेंडाल बना के सार्वजनिक गणेशोत्सव ये मनाना उन्होंने शुरू करवाया, ताकि सब लोग इकट्ठा हों, सब लोग यूनाइटेड हों। तो हर एक फेस्टिवल के पीछे कोई ना कोई एक सार गर्भित कोई उसकी स्टोरी है, कोई उसके पीछे में कोई हिस्ट्री है, कोई उसके पीछे का कारण है एक। और दूसरा जो आपने दूसरा प्रश्न पूछा कि कुछ ना कुछ वैज्ञानिक भी उसके पीछे कारण है। कभी कभी हमको उसके मूल में जाना पड़ेगा तो हमको लगेगा कि हमारे पूर्वज लोग कितने एडवांस थे कि उन्होंने उस समय देखा कि फास्टिंग हेल्प्स इन रिमूविंग द टॉक्सिन, जो आज नेचुरोपैथी का मेन फॉर्मूला है, वो हजारों वर्ष पहले हमारे पूर्वजों ने इसको खोजा और इस प्रकार के फास्टिंग की बात की। मन को शुद्ध करना, इस देह को शुद्ध करना, देह को टॉक्सिन से निकालना, उसकी बात उन्होंने कही। तो प्रत्येक रिचुअल के पीछे, प्रत्येक उत्सव के पीछे, प्रत्येक जो हमारी जो प्रत्येक रीति रिवाज के पीछे कोई ना कोई वैज्ञानिक कारण जिम्मेदार है, जिसको आज हम नहीं जा रहे हैं, पर धीरे धीरे उस पर भी हमको अब प्रकाश मिल रहा है और मॉडर्न साइंस हमको इसमें हेल्प कर रही है, आधुनिक विज्ञान हमको मदद कर रही है उसमें।
जी सर, मैं एक शेयरिंग आपके सामने रख रही हूँ। जैसे होली में हमारे यहाँ होलिका दहन होता है, तो उसमें लकड़ी जलाई जाती है और उसी समय पतझड़ का सीजन होता है। और पतझड़ के बाद जो बहुत सी शाखाएं होती हैं पेड़ की, ब्रांचेस, वो डेड हो जाती हैं। और उन डेड ब्रांचेस को हम लोग अगर कैसे वेस्ट करें या किस तरह से यूज करें, तो वो अगर साइंटिफिक रीजन दीजिए तो वो एक तरीका होता है। उस समय जो बहुत सारे बैक्टीरिया, फंजाई और माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिजम्स की संख्या बढ़ जाती है, उनको समाप्त करने के लिए वो लकड़ी जलाना भी एक स्टरलाइज करने का एक अच्छा तरीका है। जैसे दीपावली में भी हम लोग दिया जला के स्टरलाइज करते हैं। बारिश के बाद जो है काफी इन्फेक्शन हो जाता है फंजाई का, बैक्टीरिया का और वायरस का, तो एक तरह से दीपावली में हम लोग इतने दिए जला के उसको स्टरलाइज करने का तरीका करते हैं, जैसा मैं साइंटिफिक समझती हूँ।
बिल्कुल
और होली
बिल्कुल,
में
आपकी बात बिल्कुल सच है। और मैं आपको एक और बात बताऊं, एनवायरमेंटल प्रोटेक्शन के लिए भी बहुत अच्छा है। ये जितना कूड़ा करकट चारों ओर फैला रहता है, सब उसमें डाल देते हैं, इधर उधर कागज का ढेर, उधर का ढेर, वो पूरा का पूरा भस्मीभूत हो जाता है और उससे हमारा एनवायरमेंट क्लियर हो जाता है। तो आपने सच कहा।
इन्वायरमेंटल मैनेजमेंट का एक अच्छा तरीका है ये,
ठीक ठीक ठीक, आपने ठीक ही
जो
कहा।
वेस्ट डिग्रेडेशन का बायोलॉजिकल तरीका है, जिससे
हाँ,
नुकसान भी ना हो और चीजें स्टरलाइज भी हो जाए, ताकि कोरोना जैसा वायरस आगे न आए, जो हमारे तरीके, जो ट्रेडिशनल मेथड है।
बिल्कुल ठीक बात, बिल्कुल ठीक, ठीक कहा आपने।
धन्यवाद स्वामी जी।
Swamiji, we also have couple of questions in the chat. I'll just read them out. Ashutosh Ji has mentioned, Swamiji, kindly re-mention the components of Upasana.
Okay, okay, very good. So Upasana, as I told you, has got meaning sitting near, and in Pancharatra Agama, it has been used in a technical sense, associated with ritualistic worship, and it has 5 aspects. Abhigaman, keeping the temple clean. Upadan, collecting the materials needed for worship. Ijya, ritualistic worship. Swadhyay, that is repetition of God's name and chanting of hymns. And yoga, that is meditation on God. These are the rituals connected with the Upasana, according to Pancharatra Agama.
Thank you. Ranjana Ji is asking, is there any relation between Utsav and season?
Utsav and season?
Season.
Well, I do not know, but there may be certain reason, something, something may be a coincidence. There sometimes we find, as I told you, that the worship the Divine Mother, it comes in the month of October after we have already got our crops. So it might have started with the Divine Mother. So there is some relationship we can see between this season and the festival. Similarly, the Makar Sankranti, Uttarayan is starting and the sun is changing its direction. And along with that, so many things are happening in the environment. And with that, Makar Sankranti is being observed. And then also we find that till is a very important thing for our food also. It is very good for our, as a very good nutrient. And particularly for the winter season, that till is very good for our health. and til is given, til laddus are given. So all these have got some sort of scientific reason. At the same time, as you told, some festivals coming in the particular seasons might have also got some relationship, but not necessarily. Not necessarily, not all.
May I just ask one last question which is there in the chat box, Swamiji? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. Dr. Swati Suman has mentioned, Swamiji, kindly explain in fasting why salt is being avoided whereas sweet is allowed. Is there any logic behind it?
Well, one thing is there that white salt is not allowed, but rock salt you can take. You can always take the rock salt. And even otherwise, I tell you, in naturopathy, they allow the rock salt. They never allow white salt. 3 white things are to be avoided in naturopathy: white salt, white maida, and white sugar. You can take molasses, but not sugar. So it is good for health also. And not only on Ekadashi days, not only in fasting, all the 365 days, we should try to avoid white salt. But when it is not possible, at least on fasting days you avoid. But the rock salt is much better from medical point of view, from purity point of view, and from other points of view. So that is how it is taken. You can take rock salt, don't worry.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Swamiji. It was a very, very informative, very, very valuable session. Thank you so much. I think even participants have had a very, very nice time, and I'm sure they'll take back a lot to learn from this. Thank you so much.
All the best to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.